As far as Ty and Suli's aspirations, it was, $1 million company, $100 million company, then $1 billion company. They always started, added zeros to that number. And my thoughts were, there's no way I'm going to achieve those numbers. But I would say after probably the first 10 years, every aspiration or every milestone that we were able to achieve, I stopped questioning our ability, right, to hit the objectives that Suli and Ty set for us, because every time we did.
In the world of technology, heroes are everywhere. They're overcoming disruption, delivering sustainable outcomes, and fearlessly forging the future to solve what's next. Join me, Ed McNamara, as we meet the people and businesses driving change in our constantly disruptive world. This is Innovation Heroes, a podcast brought to you by SHI. Hey everyone, and welcome to a special episode of Innovation Heroes, the one in which we're going to recognize the passing of a significant milestone, the 35th anniversary of SHI. So today's SHI proudly boasts a global workforce that is 6,000 strong, built almost exclusively through organic growth. Now, by organic, we mean that in our 35 plus years of existence, we've had very few mergers or acquisitions to push our current headcount and revenue numbers to where they are today. But there was a time when the entire operation consisted of only 3 employees. 2 were the brand new owners of a company called Software House. The third is our guest today. Melissa Graham is Senior Vice President of the Globals organization at SHI International. By Globals, we mean that the customers she supports are some of the most recognizable brands in the world, including the banking, pharmaceutical, and telecom giants of the Fortune 50 and beyond. Her team literally supports some of the most complex IT organizations on the planet. And over the past 35 years, Melissa has had a huge hand in developing, if not flat out inventing, the systems and solutions we use today. Melissa, welcome to Innovation Heroes.
Hi, Ed. Thank you for that very generous introduction.
I know you didn't really love hearing all those nice things, but you just have to deal with it. So SHI, let's just start right from the top. SHI enjoys a very positive reputation among the people in our industry. But despite that, we're very far from a household name. Just curious, as you're 35 years into this, what's your cocktail party description of SHI? When a layperson asks you, who you are and what you do you tell them?
So SHI is a global IT solution provider. We sell into, as you mentioned, some of the largest companies in the world, starting with the SMB segment, right, that low. And we help our customers select, deploy, and manage technology. We keep it very simple for them. But we also help them, secure their defenses, optimize their IT.
You're SHI's first ever employee and one of only maybe 3 people out of now 6,000 that are still involved with the company and have been since the beginning. What were those first days like? What do you remember about meeting Ty and Suli? How did you get here?
I was hired by a company called Lautech, and they had just acquired Software House. That was in April of 1989. Before November of 1989, they went bankrupt, right? All our assets were frozen, and we were told to call our customers and tell them we were going out of business. And so I was on the phone with our largest of a handful of our customers and told them we were going out of business. And Suli, the co-founder, walked in and told me to put the phone down. I had no idea who this guy was, but he had a commanding voice, like, put the phone down, I want to talk to you. And so I did, and we had a conversation, and ultimately he and Ty had convinced a few of us to stay. At that point, I really was not interested because it had been a few months of watching the company really Lautech devolve over a few months' time. So Suli walked into an almost empty building. So finally I thought, well, he really wants me to stay. I have some leverage. So I was earning $19,000 at the time. And I said, all right, for $23,000, I'll stay. And he agreed to $21,000 and I stayed anyway. And certainly I did not see 35 years coming. I was there until I found out or figured out what I really wanted to do.
What was your position in those early days? Like, what were you tasked with doing, like right at the beginning?
So I was hired as a customer service representative. Again, they needed somebody to answer the phones and do price quotes and do order processing and handle those types of administrative tasks on a day-to-day basis. And that's what I did until Sully and Ty bought the company. And we had no computer systems, we had no other support. So overnight, I became the jack of all trades. I sold, I bought, I packaged, I picked, I shipped. I even crossed a UPS picket line one time to go pick up product to deliver it to IBM in Yonkers, New York. So that's what I did for several years. As a matter of fact, I think I was the treasurer of the company at one point in the very, very, very early years of the company.
Well, so you got a demotion at some point then.
I did get demoted at some point. Exactly. They didn't want my hands on those checks.
Yeah, we all have different aptitudes. What were the goals of the company at the beginning? So like that's what you were doing as an employee, but what was those early day goals, and how were they discussed?
Well, the first thing that needed to happen was we had to get off probation with IBM. Because of the financial challenges with Lautech, we couldn't ship anything. We were put on probation. And had we not been able to resume business with IBM, we would have been out of business, right? There would be no software house. That was the first challenge. As convincing as Sully was to get me to hang up that phone and not tell IBM we were going out of business, he was that convincing when he spoke with IBM and asked them to give us a second chance. That was after he had secured a credit line with a distributor because we had no credit because of Lautech's bank debt. So that was the first hurdle the company had to get over. After that, it became, we just have to win, we have to win, we have to win, right? We have to build a brand in order to scale. We just need big, big customers. And then as far as Ty and Sully's aspirations, it was, $1 million company, $100 million company, then $1 billion company. They always started, added zeros to that number. And quite honestly, for many years, I just couldn't see it. I mean, some of the years I was the only seller. So I was, my thoughts were, there's no way I'm going to achieve those numbers. But I would say after probably the first 10 years, every aspiration or every milestone that we were able to achieve, I stopped questioning our ability, right, to hit the objectives that Sully and Ty set for us, because every time we did. And I was amazed every time.
You and Ty are, I would say on a day-to-day basis, the only two people who've worked at SHI every single day since the beginning. How would you describe Ty's management style?
So Ty's management style, she always told me, you want to hire people that you don't have to manage, which means they're self-managing and they can be independent and autonomous and do a great job. So that was her management style. And I appreciate that because I don't want to be told what to do. I don't want to be given a plan, and said, go ahead and follow these steps. She enabled me to be creative, to do what it takes to win. And I had that level of autonomy and authority to make those decisions. Because let's face it, what could I break at that point?
Right.
We didn't have much. There wasn't much to break. She enabled people to make decisions and be creative, and to go out and win the business. That was her management style. And in large part, it's still that way.
So you and Ty, right from the beginning, Ty's sister Celeste came in a few years afterwards, and that was before anybody really talked about women in IT, and the ratio of men to women in IT has been written and talked about at length, for the past 10, 15, 20 years. You're the second employee only to the president, CEO of the largest minority woman-owned business in the United States. Yet we don't often emphasize that, and I don't get the feeling that for a long time anybody gave thought to that. And why is that?
I mean, being the largest woman-owned business in the United States, it's an attribute, but it does not define who we are or what we do. I know in the very early days, it was a door opener, and we used it to our advantage. But ultimately, price and performance is what wins the day. So the fact that we were woman and minority owned really didn't matter long term if we were not performing. We don't want to be defined by being a woman-owned company, and we don't want to win because we're a woman-owned company. We'll take the win, but we want to win based on our own merits, and it's always been that way.
Let's move into the history of SHI and innovation. So IT companies have no choice. Survival depends on constantly evolve your offerings and capabilities to customers. But it also requires completely changing how you conduct your business. So when you started, SHI started with, quarterly paper catalogs, telephones, fax machines. You've witnessed firsthand our history of, accelerating growth, expansion. What are some of SHI's inflection points? When you look back and say, okay, these are some of those key decisions or key events that actually define the success of a company that's now 35 years. What do you look back to as some of those points that contributed to our long-term success?
So I think about when we opened up SHI Hong Kong, and it was at the request of one customer, and we opened up SHI Hong Kong for that one customer. Well, that one customer, right, 35 years later, they have transformed many, many times, but they're still one of our largest customers, right? So it's all interrelated. It's all interrelated. That one customer enabled us to win another customer, right, to build a telco vertical. So opening the international locations, I would say, was paramount, especially in today's world. It's all multinational. It's all multinational. I would say the next is, setting up SHI.com, right? Our customers, our competitors were supporting these electronic catalogs for their customers, right? So we followed suit. I think in 2009, SHI starting SHI Corp, right, for the SMB segment. She's often told me, had it not been for that in 2009, we may not be in business today, right? Because their acceleration of growth for the company, I mean, if you think about it, how many years later, 2009 until today, they're almost a $10 billion business, right? And they enabled us to improve our authorizations with certain OEMs. So that was a major inflection point for us and a great enabler of the longevity or the long-term health of SHI. I would say the most recent acquisition of Locus in India is a major inflection point because that's a big gap for us outside the US. So while they're a managed services organization, right, their strength is in security, high performance compute in particular, and they'll fill a gap again, which is a big deal for us because in the largest companies, they want their partners to be those with the broadest footprint, and that has been a disadvantage for SHI for a long time.
What's interesting about some of these inflection points, when we first transitioned into hardware, it was right after the dot-com bubble and post 9/11. Our expansion into mid-size business was 2009, right in the middle of the Great Recession. Stratascale was opened, in 2020 when we were dealing with COVID. What does it say to SHI that it just seems like we pick these times when we're pushing down on the accelerator when other people might be letting off?
I think Ty took advantage of the opportunity because others are letting off, and she wanted to capitalize on their lack of attention, pulling back support for certain areas of the business. And she can only Ty can tell us best why she did those things.
Right.
But I think she saw an opportunity that we had to capitalize on. Another example, what I didn't mention, but when you said about getting into the hardware business, I actually think it was in the earlier 90s or maybe mid 90s. One of the largest banks in the world called us on a Friday, and their reseller, who's no longer in business any longer, jacked up their prices significantly, like 10, 15, 20%. And this bank said, thanks, but no thanks. And they called SHI, who is their software reseller, and said, we need 40,000 laptops a year. Can you guys handle it? And we were like, uh-oh, be careful what you ask for. We ran to Ty and Suli, and they're like, let's do it, right? And within a very short period of time, literally weeks, we were up and running. That was really our entree into large-scale laptop deployments, right, for the big brands like HP and Apple and Dell, because we really were not on their map at that time.
So today, you and SHI's leadership team are leading a kind of a complete evolution of how SHI conducts business and improves, productivity, efficiency, through the use of AI whenever possible. So we're doing it internally, but we're also, providing, expertise, equipment, everything that's needed for customers to do it as well. When you think of like innovation at SHI, not just in our offerings to customers, but like how we run our business, how have we been able to do this, like repeatedly over the years?
So the automation has gone from building scripts to automate things to, full AI today. We've automated software license renewals. We've automated updating catalogs. We've automated, auto closing purchase orders. So there's been a lot of incremental automation, just taking a look at a lot of our processes that really consume the most energy and time from the most employees in the company. We're still in a total transformation, right? For the last 3 to 4 years, we've been transforming IT, we've been transforming finance, and as a result, the ripple down effect is we're transforming the entire company, right? Sales, inside sales, purchasing, warehouse operations, etc. We also developed our own internal AI called MindSpark. There are things like trip reports, right? Summarizing account plans, aid in developing proposals, getting ideas about how we can best position SHI in certain areas. I think right now we've got over 100 use cases. I think we've got like 4,500 of our 6,000 employees that are actively using MindSpark. So productivity, I know I have seen productivity improvements in my own organization, and utilizing it is able to do things that would take us literally months to do.
So right now, as we speak, construction is nearing completion on our new AI and cyber labs facility. That's a place that's designed to bring together leaders from businesses, research universities, government agencies to kind of reimagine and collaborate and discover next generation AI and cyber solutions. We're really, as a company, building a place that could be a research facility for people to come and test out, the latest in AI. What do you think when you see, the potential that's there?
There's significant potential. I mean, our customers need us. And if you think about it, even our customers still are trying to figure out what to do with AI, right? So many of them are just investing in building applications because we've got to do it. We've got to do it. It's just like 15 years ago with cloud, right? We've got to get all our applications to the cloud. So you have that happening. And then you have those that aren't doing much because they're afraid. They don't know what to do, what's going to do to the business. So SHI and the labs that we have developed it's a safety zone, right? And rather than hire one of the largest of the consulting firms and pay them potentially hundreds of thousands or millions, we can get through that entire journey in 6 weeks. No company has a big enough bench or enough talent, right? So save yourself a few million, right? And let's go back and reinvest, and let's address the issues perhaps that are preventing this AI from being successful. So, what we looked at, again, we just have to be the best at what we do. And I believe what we do should be what we're best at. And so we focus our energy and address our customer needs where they are and how we can best serve them. And it might sound very simple, but it's very, very impactful to their business. Similarly, in our cyber lab, if you think about it, every organization has 10, 20, 30, 50, 100 different security products, right? They're trying to patch up every vulnerability. And all of the primary security partners are coming out with platforms where one maybe was just like an endpoint device security company. Now they're also protecting the edge. They're protecting the cloud, the network, et cetera. And they've got vulnerabilities. So we've got the expertise, right, and the labs, and we will do the proof of concepts. We'll integrate technologies They'll give us test cases, right? So we will test against their environment and then generate reference architecture. And we're not making the decision for them about what technology or how to move forward, but what we're doing is accelerating or short-circuiting that time to, I need to do something, to arming me with the information I need, or most of the information I need to make a decision, right? So accelerating time to value, accelerating time to revenue, reducing their risk. It's really incredibly valuable.
One last question. Nobody has worked at SHI longer than you, which I'm sure you're extremely proud of. But being founded in 1989 means that SHI employees come from, 4 different named generations. Like there's boomers, there's Gen X, there's millennials, there's Gen Z. If we stick around long enough, we'll be welcoming some alphas to our training classes. If we listened to the pundits years ago, we should have failed the second that we had, millennials at the entry level with Gen X managers. Why didn't it fail? And what remains true today from those years?
So I am a Gen Xer, and I think it's very evident when I'm like, why should I do it? Well, do you want a job? I mean, there was, back in the day, it was just sheer brute force, and we had something to prove. So you did what it took. If you worked 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right? It was all about winning, making the customer happy, helping the customer grow. We were very outwardly focused, I would say.
Yeah.
And the millennials are more about collaboration. They want to talk about things. They want guidance, direction, and all of those things are good. It's just the complete opposite of what me as a Gen Xer wanted, which was autonomy and authority, and just let me go, right? Just let me go. I don't need you to tell me I'm doing okay. Let me go. And if I'm not doing okay, it will become very apparent quickly. So that was definitely a shift for me, and still is, quite honestly. We had people come in, the millennials, and they were doing like happy hour after work. I may have even commented to you at some point, like, happy hour, what's this? Like, isn't this still work time? But I think it's a great combination, actually, because there's something to the human element. You can become very robotic when you're just singularly focused, and sheer brute force. You've got a mission, and that's what you're doing. There's something to be humanized, if you will, with this next generation who wants collaboration. They want feedback, right? They want to be part of a community and maybe not have, I guess they want autonomy, but not the level of autonomy that we had. So it's an adjustment. I mean, I think millennials, had we not adjusted, the Gen Xers, had we not adjusted, they probably would have all left us. I mean, I'm pretty certain.
Well, so I just wanted to say thank you for coming on and really representing, the company that we all work for. And thanks for still being here with us.
Thank you. I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Until next time, keep innovating, stay ahead of the curve. For Innovation Heroes and SHI, I'm Ed McNamara, and I'll see you again in 2 weeks.